Grief hoarding to shoebox memories. What is that? How does it work? We're going to talk about it today. Hi there, I'm Angela Brown, and this is Ask a House Cleaner. This is a show where you get to ask a house cleaning question, and I get to help you find an answer. Now, today's show is brought to us by housecleaning360.com. This is a website that partners house cleaners with homeowners. And so if you are a homeowner and you're trying to go through your stuff, and you have some stuff you've inherited, and it's taken up space, and you're going through your storage unit and your attic and your garage, and you need some help, you can find a professional organizer or a house cleaner or a hoarding specialist or a junk removal specialist. You can find them all on housecleaning360.com. All right, on to today's show. We have a homeowner that wrote into the show this last week, and she had a really serious situation. The situation is she's accumulated stuff from both her deceased parents, and she has a house full of stuff. And as she's trying to move through her stuff, she has a storage unit, lots of closets, lots of attic space that's consuming this stuff. Most of it is stuff that was meaningful to her parents, and she's afraid if she lets it go, it's like letting go of them and their memories and saying goodbye. So how do you move through that? All right, well, we have a process as house cleaners that we call shoebox memories, and I want to share that with you today. The concept, the long and the short version of it, is that you take your memories and you condense them to the size of a shoebox. Now, for me, in my hand here, I have a small tatting shuttle. This tatting shuttle is 40 years old, and it takes me back to the spring of 1980. Now, if you don't know what a tatting shuttle is, it looks like a bobbin of thread, and it actually has thread on it. Okay, so it is small and it's squished, but it has thread, and you take the thread and you wrap it around your hands. Then with the tatting shuttle, you take the tatting shuttle and you weave it in and out, and along with that, you can create small knots. Now I just created a knot, you see? And with this little process of tatting, you can create handmade lace. Now, the reason it takes me back to 1980 is I was homeschooled. I was 10 years old. I was a brat child, and I was very difficult to get along with, and I did not respect authority. And so for one of my homeschool assignments, if you will, is my mother sent me down the street a couple of blocks away to this little old lady's house, and I think she was like 100 years old at the time. Her name was Helen Clark, and Helen was a specialist in handiwork. And so she would sit there with me for 3 hours every Wednesday. She did this for several years. She would sit there with me, and she taught me how to crochet and knit and embroider and tat. So these are lost arts even back then. None of the kids that I knew growing up knew any of these skills. But we would sit and we would embroider pillowcases, and we would embroider little designs that we would frame and hang up. And it was interesting because she was meticulous. And I thought that I was doing her a favor by visiting with this old lady. But what I didn't realize is I was actually the one that was in rehabilitation myself. My mother was trying to straighten me up and teach me some values of life that were being taught to me through this really sweet, little, amazing, wonderful old lady. Okay, so I would go to her house every week, and I would sit there and she would give me an assignment. And because this was part of my homeschooling, I had to sit there and I had to do it. So I would crochet, and she would look at my stitches and she would say, they're a little bit sloppy. You can do a tighter weave on that. And she would rip it out and make me start over again. And I would embroider stitches, and she'd say the stitches are uneven. And she would make me rip them out with a seam ripper, and she would make me do them over again. And so there I was, 10 years old, and I would sit there just, because how crazy is this, and what is the value of this? But what she taught me, and I didn't realize that at the time, is that she was teaching me how to take value in my work, and how to recognize when I had made mistakes, and how to correct those mistakes, because right now is the best time to correct those mistakes rather than later on. Then she also taught me about entrepreneurialism. And as she taught me how to tat, she taught me how to make these little lace strips that we could back with a satin ribbon. They became bookmarks. And then we went down to the public library and we sold them at wholesale to the public library. And they turned around and they put them on their counter and they sold them at retail to their customers. So it was a really interesting business at 10 years old. And this is before eBay and before Etsy. But what I was learning at that time was not just about the handiwork, but about being meticulous, about pride in your work, about follow through and finishing projects that you start, about doing things consistently every single time. She was a real stickler if I were to try to miss one of my sessions with her. She expected reliability and dependability and all of those things, even though I was a child. And then she taught me about being a small business owner Even though I didn't have this booming business, it was the basics of business and how to get started. So one of the things that is most important to me over the years, and one of the reasons I have kept this, is because this particular tatting shuttle reminds me of that time with Helen and the time where I went from being, in my mind, a small child, just a bratty, pre-adolescent child, to being an adult and start thinking through things like my actions have consequences. And so this is what this symbolizes to me. Of all of the things that I've kept over the years, this is one of the very few things that I've kept. And I keep this inside a shoebox. Now, the reason I call it Shoebox Memories is because this is an item. This is not a great big dresser or a big piece of antique furniture or something. This is something small enough that although I've traveled and I've been in 31 countries around the world, this particular item has traveled with me where I go and the different places that I've moved and whatever, and I still have it after all these years because this itself fits inside a shoebox. All right, now the rest of the memories. If you have really great, amazing stuff that you got from your parents or your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents, friends, neighbors, relatives, whatever, there's value in that. But the value comes not from the stuff. It comes from the story. So what I just shared with you right now was my story about the tatting shuttle and what it means to me. So if you have stuff that you're having a really hard time letting go of, go to that item and hang on to that item and grab the video camera and share with the camera your story. How did you come to get this particular item? What was going on in your life at the time that you got this item? Who did you get the item from? Why did you keep it? What does it mean to you now? And after you've shared your story, only then will you be in a position to let it go. You've shared the memory, you've honored it, you've respected what it brought to you and what it means to your life. And now you have yourself with the story and the image of whatever this thing is that you have had a hard time letting go of. Okay, so what happens now is you can keep the video, which is an electronic digital file, and you can now let that piece of furniture go to someone else or a better home, or you can sell it or whatever. Because the stuff is not what's really important. It's the memory behind the stuff. And most of our memories, believe it or not, will fit inside a shoebox. So I want to encourage you today, if you have a garage full of things, or if you have an attic full of things you've been hoarding or storing or saving or whatever, that maybe one day you're going to get through and you're going to, use them? News. You're not going to use them. You've never used them. You're not going to use them. Not now, not ever. And so now is a really good time to make those stories. The stories are meaningful. And you can share those stories with your family, with your friends, and you can watch them at any time to remind you of how you felt and how that item came into your life and what it means. Now, if you are no good in front of the camera, and this sounds like a horrific, just huge project that's overwhelming to you, what I might recommend is there are lots of online groups. They're either neighborhood groups, they're Facebook groups, they're friends, there are people that get together with a couple of people that are going through the same type of things, and share your stories with them. Invite them over and let them be present when you make these videos. That way you have a person to talk to and you can share your story with them. And then when it's all over, maybe they can help you carry that item out. And at the end, almost like a ceremony, at the end you carry that item out to be given away or to be sold or whatever it is. You physically remove it from the spot as if you are washing and cleansing yourself of that. And now what travels with you is the electronic version and the memories that fit inside the shoebox. All right, I hope that helps a little bit. If it does, please pass this on to a friend. If we've earned your subscription, please subscribe. And until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.